What's up YouTube, Zero here, and today I have an amazing Charizard EX plus Moltres EX deck in Pokemon TCG Pocket. In this video, I'll go over the deck build that you can see on the left hand side of the screen. I'll talk about each of these cards individually, and I'll talk about why they all work well together in this Charizard EX deck. Now before I get into it, I do want to say if you do enjoy this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more Pokemon TCG content. I do a bunch of other video games, so feel free to check those out as well. Without further ado, let's talk about this deck. Now, of course, you've probably seen a combination like this in the past already. This has been a pretty prominent combination and deck since Pokemon TCG came out. Of course, Charizard EX, the one I'm using, is the Crimson Storm Charizard that you can get from the Genetic Apex Charizard deck. Moltres EX, same deck. You're still going to go to that Genetic Apex Charizard deck to get the Moltres EX. Both of these cards have been in the game since its inception, and both of them, when coupled together, are insanely powerful. Of course, you have your Charizard EX that with Crimson Storm deals 200 damage. Of course, you have to discard 2 fire energy from the Pokemon for utilizing that move. Now in total, Crimson Storm costs 4 energy, 2 fire, and 2 colorless. You're probably going to be running this in a fire deck. I'd be shocked if you could utilize this in any other deck because you need that fire energy. However, if you can get 6 energy on your Charizard, you can get 8 energy on your Charizard, you're going to be cooking. Of course, you're only discarding 2 fire energy for Crimson Storm after utilizing it. So having that built up energy is going to be crucial to your success with your Charizard EX. Once you get Charizard EX going, a lot of opponents are going to have a hard time stopping you. Charizard EX and Crimson Storm dealing 200 damage. As of me making this video, can one-hit KO any Pokemon in the game. That's insanely huge because that means no matter what Pokemon you're facing, you can one-hit KO them as long as you have your Crimson Storm ready to go. It means Charizard is going to be able to run through any Pokemon if you're fully loaded. If you have extra energy to where you can hit for a couple of Crimson Storms, you're really going to be cooking, and it's going to be difficult after you get your Charizard EX for your opponent to stop you. Now, this is why you pair up this Charizard EX, the Crimson Storm one from the Genetic Apex Charizard. There are 2 Charizard EXs in the game right now. This one is the specific Crimson Storm one from that Charizard EX pack, but it's critical that you pair it up with Moltres EX. 1 energy at a time from your energy zone per turn is going to be extremely slow to power up your Charizard EX. You're going to want an enhancement. You're going to want a way to more quickly get that energy on your Charizard EX, and this is why it's great to pair up with Moltres. So before I talk about Moltres, I do want to mention Charizard's other move. For 3 energy, 1 fire, 2 colorless, it deals its slash for 60 damage, which isn't really that great. To deal 60 damage for 3 energy is actually really low. So you're going to be really trying to focus on getting that 4 energy. But the reason why you want Moltres is because of its Inferno Dance. Now, Inferno Dance, for 1 fire energy, you flip 3 coins. For every heads, you take 1 fire energy from your energy zone and you attach it to the bench Pokemon as you see fit. So if you get 1 heads, you get 1 energy to put on a Pokemon. If you get 2, you get 2 energy to equip on any Pokemon on your bench that you see fit. Same thing with 3 energy. So if you get lucky and you get 3 heads, that's 3 heads on your Charizard EX just by 1 turn from your Moltres with Inferno Dance. That's absolutely awesome. Of course, there is the chance that you do get 0 heads. That's always a possibility, but most likely you're going to get 1 or 2 heads when you are flipping. So this Moltres EX is going to be a way to power up your Charizard more quickly and get it going. As I said earlier, 4 energy on your Charizard is great for 1 Crimson Storm, but if you can put 6 energy on your Charizard or 8 energy on your Charizard, you're really going to be cooking, and it's going to be tough for your opponent to defeat you at that point. Once your Charizard EX is powered up, you're going to be really dealing. As you can see in this clip, I'm facing a Gyarados deck. Fire is weak to water, and I'm still able to defeat this Gyarados deck. So that's pretty awesome. Once I was able to get my Charizard going, my opponent had a very difficult time dealing with me, even though they had water and I had fire, which is awesome. So that's the goal of this deck. Get Charizard powered up as quickly as possible. You're probably not going to be equipping extra energy on Moltres for Heat Blast. Every once in a while you might, depending upon how the game is playing out. If your opponent is stalling, you may want to equip energy on your Moltres just to deal with your opponent's active Pokemon. And I have in the past. Most of the time I don't. Most of the time I'm just utilizing Inferno Dance and then having my Moltres retreat. But if I need to, I will equip 3 energy on my Moltres and attack with Heat Blast for 70 damage. Now, the Charmander and Charmeleon, these are going to be from the Shining Revelry deck, so that's actually pretty important. The reason why that is the Charmander from the Shining Revelry deck is going to be 1 fire energy for combustion for 20 damage. The Charmeleon from the Shining Revelry deck are 2 fire energy for combustion for 40 damage. The reason why I do this is because you may not necessarily pull Moltres EX right away. You may pull out a Charmander to start the match. Having Charmander with 1 fire energy for combustion is going to deal 20 damage without having to worry about losing energy. There is another Charmander in the game right now, however, it's not conducive for this Charizard. Charizard EX is insanely powerful, but only when it's getting all of that extra energy. The other Charmander in the game is 1 fire energy for 30 damage, and yes, you are dealing extra damage, but you discard 1 fire energy after you attack. That's going to defeat the purpose of trying to build up energy on your Charizard. So utilize this Charmander so you're not losing that fire energy. You're still doing 20 damage, which of course isn't 30, but you're not losing that fire energy that can be so crucial. The Charmeleon from the Shining Revelry deck is only 2 fire energy to attack, where the other Charmeleon in the game right now is 3 fire energy. So it's just making it easier to attack with your Charmander and Charmeleon while you're getting ready for your Charizard. Charizard is going to be the key to this battle, to any battle that you face. It's going to be the key for this deck. So you want to make sure that you're powering up Charizard as quickly as possible. But with this Charmander and Charmeleon combo, you're going to be able to attack without losing energy, and you're going to be able to attack relatively quickly just to get some damage on your opponent while either you're waiting to pull your Moltres or you're waiting to evolve your Charmeleon into your Charizard EX. Now, a couple of the basic cards that are pretty much in every deck right now are going to be Pokeball, which you put a random basic Pokemon from your deck into your hand, and Professor's Research, which you draw 2 cards. Of course, getting all of the cards from your deck as quickly as possible is going to allow you to defeat your opponents as quickly as possible and get your Charizard EX set up. Next, another crucial card for this deck build is going to be Pokemon Communication. If you don't know what Pokemon Communication does, you choose a Pokemon in your hand and you switch it with a random Pokemon in your deck. So, of course, if you have a Pokemon in your hand that you do not need in the current moment, maybe you already have 1 Moltres on the field and you have 1 in your hand and you also have Pokemon Communication, you can utilize that Moltres in your hand so you can pull maybe a Charmander or a Charmeleon or a Charizard, whichever one you need in that moment. Pokemon communication is going to be crucial to getting the Pokemon you need in that moment. So I love Pokemon communication in this deck because the whole point is getting Charizard and getting it set up as quickly as possible. So getting the Pokemon you need for that, utilizing Pokemon communication is going to be crucial. Next, let's talk about Pokemon Center Lady. Pokemon Center Lady is basic, but also important. So for Pokemon Center Lady, you're going to heal 30 damage from one of your Pokemon, and it recovers from all special conditions. This is important for several reasons. One, there's going to be a likelihood that your Charmander starts in that active slot, that you start with your Charmander to begin the game. So if your Charmander is taking damage, you can utilize Pokemon Center Lady to increase its survivability so you can get to your Charizard and make sure your Charizard doesn't have a lot of damage on it. So it's going to be nice for that. It can also be nice to keep your Moltres EX in the active slot alive while you're trying to build up energy on your Charizard. As I said earlier, the more energy on your Charizard, the better. It's going to be insanely hard for your opponent to take out your Charizard when you can one-hit every Pokemon in the game. So if you increase the survivability of Moltres to add more energy on your Charizard, it's going to be nice for that as well. There are also certain Pokemon in the game that can be frustrating that apply status conditions, regardless of which one you face. There are Pokemon that apply Paralyze, that apply Sleep. Pokemon Center Lady is going to be a way to recover from that, so your opponent can't prevent you from attacking. So that's also going to be nice for Pokemon Center Lady. Next, I like Rocky Helm. I know a lot of people go back and forth whether they like Giant Cape or Rocky Helm better. Me personally, I prefer Rocky Helm for several reasons. One, as I mentioned earlier, I'm probably not going to be attacking with my Moltres EX. I'm going to be utilizing it to put energy onto my Charizard. Equipping a Rocky Helm on my Moltres is going to be a way that the opponent is going to be taking damage if they're attacking my Moltres. I'm not doing damage with the 70 from Heat Blast, so utilizing Rocky Helm is going to be a way that I get some damage onto my opponent. It's also going to be a way to deter my opponents from attacking me. Perhaps they don't have an insanely powerful Pokemon in that active slot. Perhaps there is some form of a Pokemon that's injured, or they don't want to injure their Pokemon and they don't want to attack. It's either going to be a deterrent or it's going to do some damage. So when I do put my Charizard in that active slot, I am dealing with a Pokemon. Maybe I don't need to utilize Crimson Storm. Maybe I can just utilize Slash for 60 instead of Crimson Storm, which is going to help out not lose energy. So that's a way I can just do some extra damage and also deter the opponent from attacking me. A Giant Cape isn't going to deter the opponent from attacking me. Only a Rocky Helmet is going to do that, so it can increase my survivability a little bit more. And if it doesn't, while deter my opponent, it can at least deal some extra damage. Last but not least, Sabrina. Sabrina is going to be a way to get to Pokemon on your opponent's bench. This can do one of two things. It can, one, slow your opponent down by forcing them to utilize energy into making Pokemon retreat. Perhaps there's a Pokemon on my opponent's bench that has no energy on it but has a high retreat cost. I can utilize Sabrina to pull that Pokemon out and make my opponent either utilize a Leaf, an X speed, or energy to have that Pokemon retreat. So I can slow my opponent down. And slowing my opponent down is going to be great so I can build up the energy on my Charizard. Sabrina can also draw out a Pokemon that perhaps my opponent is trying to protect. It may be an EX Pokemon that they're trying to get my Charizard a little bit weakened before they put that Pokemon in the active slot. Sabrina isn't going to allow them to do this. That's why I like Sabrina here instead of Cyrus. As much as I love Cyrus, and Cyrus has been crucial for me in a lot of my deck builds, Sabrina just makes more sense. I'm not going to be dealing a ton of damage with Moltres. I'm going to be dealing some if I get a Rocky Helm, and if the match does dictate, I may try and equip enough energy for Heat Blast, but most of the time I'm not going to be dealing a ton of damage with Moltres. So I'm not going to have a lot of enemy Pokemon on the bench to pull out with Cyrus. Sabrina is going to be more useful so I can get to maybe an EX Pokemon that my opponent is hiding on the bench that I can deal with Charizard and its Crimson Storm, rather than having to hope that I did some damage to a Pokemon on the bench. So that's the build of this deck. I absolutely love this deck, and Sabrina is in the Genetic Apex Charizard decks, and Rocky Helm is in the Space-Time Palkia decks. I absolutely love this deck combination. I've been dominating with it. This combination of Moltres and Charizard is absolutely fantastic. Again, this has been a combination since this game first released. It's an amazing combination where you can utilize Moltres to build up energy on Charizard and then let Charizard wreck your opponent's team. It's absolutely awesome and can win a lot of games. Sabrina is going to be there to force Pokemon your opponent doesn't want in the active slot to the active slot. Pokeball, Pokemon Communication, and Professor's Research are all going to allow you to get the cards or Pokemon you need in your hand quicker. Rocky Helm is going to be a nice deterrent and also deal some damage, while Poké Center Lady is going to keep your Pokemon alive longer and get rid of those nasty status conditions that are going to prevent your Pokemon from attacking. This deck combination is absolutely awesome. Of course, there could be some slight variations, and I'd love to hear your variations in the comments section. Let me know what you think of this deck. Are you running something insanely similar to this? What changes would you make? Let me know in the comments section. Let's talk anything Pokemon in the comments section. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and until next time, peace.